The Manuscript by J.P. O'Brien. The culmination of Lorenzo's hard work was at last in his hands. The love story that had eluded him for so long in real life had finally come to be, at least in some form. He held the manuscript against his chest, close to his heart, and exhaled in exasperated triumph. Over the many years it had taken him to write it, he had come to terms with his own shortcomings. He recognized that he could never be as passionate, as romantic, as daring as the characters of his imagination. So he instead sought solace crafting scenarios for made-up people in which love always prevailed. "They can find happiness where I could not," he ruminated. But there remained one final step before his love story could take true root in the real world. Someone had to read it. He had chosen the old, dusty bookshop on the corner as the perfect place to house his masterpiece. But, too daunted by the thought of actually publishing anything, Lorenzo possessed only the one typed copy. His plan was to sneak it onto the shelves exactly as it was, and wait. Whomsoever picked it out from amongst the Austens, Brontes, and Chaucers would be the one whose eyes it was destined to find. That person would have unhindered access to the romantic yearnings of Lorenzo's lonely heart, committed to ink, line by line. As the dust danced through the sunlit stacks, he cautiously looked over his shoulder. The coast was clear. He slipped the manuscript out of his satchel and pushed it discreetly onto a shelf. Then he retreated to another corner of the bookshop to begin his long and vulnerable vigilance. For weeks he watched the patrons of the shop come and go. For weeks, not one soul came close to plucking it from the shelf. He was at the end of his rope. Lacking the bravery to explore love for himself, he had poured his heart onto the pages of that manuscript. But he wondered if it was destined to remain closed. Then in she walked, a beautiful woman who made Lorenzo straighten up and take notice. Not just her beauty caught his eye, but her uncanny familiarity. He realized immediately that she was the woman from his story, the very same one that he had written about, the object of affection that he had created. Every detail was there. Her luxurious raven-black hair, those solemn, rich eyes like deep pools, the same kind, lopsided smile. She even walked the way he had imagined. And just like his leading female character, Isabella, she too was ready to love. Lorenzo was sure of it. Everything was just as he'd written. As if somehow compelled by an invisible thread, the raven-haired woman moved from the doorway and through the shop, directly to the aisle, to the exact bookshelf where he had placed his manuscript. She reached out an elegant hand, selected his story from among countless others, and pulled it out. On the other side of the bookshop, the nervous writer's idle hands pretended to browse a title or two from the nearby shelves, while his eyes stayed glued to the real-life Isabella through the gaps. He believed he was witnessing magic. This was like a dream, and she was the woman he had dreamed about. His heart stomped noisily in his chest as the woman began to read. Lorenzo could feel his love story coming to life right in front of him, and his mind raced with chaotic instruction. Approach her. Say this. Ask that. This is the chance you've longed for. A million potential conversations exploded in his head at once. But there they noisily remained. Poor Lorenzo was petrified by terror. He knew the pattern all too well. There were two opposite sides to him. On the one, whenever he was staring at a blank page, words flowed out of his fingertips like a wild river. This side of him had evidently captivated his lone reader in an instant. But, on the other, should he ever actually find himself face to face with someone like her, bumbling half-sentences would tumble from his mouth in a miserable mess. His stomach dropped as he realized that he was helpless to change this. So he continued to watch her. He drank her in, observing the tiny shifts in her expression as she journeyed through his tale of kindling intimacy, her eyes caressing his words with great tenderness. He recognized her gasps and teary-eyed smiles as the protagonists fell deeper and deeper in love, wishing so badly that the two of them would take their place. A love like that was too powerful to be constricted in fiction. At last, the final page turned. She closed the manuscript and held it for a moment, lost in thought. His final opportunity to move. Lorenzo breathed deeply and stepped forward with a powerful, growing confidence, determined to reveal himself as the author. He approached her, his pulse tensing the tight skin of his throat, his hands clammy. He stopped a few feet in front of her. She looked up, those magnetic eyes locked onto his with a spark. An expectant silence hung in the air between them, brimming with all the love he had channeled into his fictional heroine, now living and breathing before him. Her lips parted in a slight smile as she waited for him to speak. But cold fear gripped him. He lowered his head, avoiding her gaze, and silently scurried past her and out of the door of the bookshop. She stood still for a moment, her fingers distractedly tapping on the cover of the manuscript, which she then replaced sullenly onto the bookshelf. After she had composed her thoughts, she turned and made her way towards the door, leaving the bookshop aisle where the two of them had stood, empty and forgotten. You have been listening to J.P. O'Brien's stories. For more, visit patreon.com/JP O'Brien Stories.